here's an important thing that I will say. As an artist, you should never go to school for art. What I will say is this: don't go to school for art. Nobody can teach you to become a better artist. You learn to become a better artist through experience and your failures and making sure that you learn from these failures. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, welcome. My name's Dontae. I'm a content creator, filmmaker, and entrepreneur. And for today's video, we're going to be doing a story time, something very interesting that a lot of you might like. If you've been subscribed to this channel since the beginning, then you've followed my journey as a filmmaker, going to film school, and then kind of this gray area. And I'm going to tell you exactly why that is. So today, we're going to be telling a story about my journey as a filmmaker. And it was a very rough one, and I'm still on my journey as a filmmaker. And by no means necessary do I think I'm Steven Spielberg, J.J. Abrams, Martin Scorsese at all. There's levels of filmmaking, especially in today's digital era. And that's where we start off. I'm going to tell you exactly when I started as a filmmaker. A lot of people say they were something when they were a kid, when they were smaller. But to be completely honest with you, I truly was a filmmaker at the age of 8 years old. My parents had a Sony Handycam. And it was this camcorder that shot on VHS tapes, super old school. I actually still have it to this day. My cousin and I, whenever he would come and sleep over, we would sneak into my parents' bedroom. We would find the video camera. Every single time we used the video camera and we put it back, they would end up hiding it somewhere else. So it was always a journey of trying to figure out where is the video camera at. And for us, 8 years old, this was an amazing tool to have. We didn't have a computer where we could edit the footage. You basically edited the videos on the camcorders. We would recreate our favorite movie scenes from Lord of the Rings, Aliens. We would create funny dance trends and parodies like you see on TikTok and early YouTube. This is what we would do for fun. At the time, I couldn't really explain what that feeling was, but now I feel like I truly understand what it means to be a filmmaker. So the camcorder days, that was 2001 all the way probably until 2008. And in 2011, I got my very first digital Sony Handycam. This camcorder came with me everywhere that I went. With that camera, I documented so many dope memories. And just going back to my YouTube channel, these videos are private now, so you're not going to be able to see it. But I used to document all of my talent shows that I was in for beatboxing and sound effects. But there became a pivotal moment where I wanted to do something with intention with my YouTube channel. And that's when I started Seeking Greatness TV. Not the greatest name in the world, but at this point I had a laptop and I was editing on iMovie. So you know those cheesy intros? I thought I was the shit with those intros. That was so dope to me back in the day. And basically Seeking Greatness TV was me finding my friends. Again, my cousin who was a dancer, he was on episode 1. And I showcased his dancing. The second episode of Seeking Greatness TV was with one of my classmates, Francisco Brosas, who was saucy with the spoken word. Seeking Greatness TV never went on because I got copyright strikes from YouTube. So thanks, YouTube. But that taught me a valuable lesson: to not use copyrighted music. I took a break with that camera. I think the last thing I might have filmed on it was a dance battle, and then I ended up selling that camera. At this point, I was cameraless. I filmed a prank video. And, you know, just off of a whim, there's this website called break.com. I'm not sure if they're around still. It's kind of like World Star Hip Hop, but basically they put out an ad that they were willing to buy people's videos off of them for $1,000. As a high school kid, this sounded insane. $1,000. Everything that I could dream of that I wanted to buy, I was like, okay, what am I going to do if I get this? But if there's something that I learned is to never put your hopes up. I submitted the video and I thought nothing of it. A couple of weeks later, I woke up with an email from break.com saying, "Dear Dontae, we love your video. We'd love to acquire a license to this video." And they just asked me to fill out my name, my address, and lo and behold, I had a check for $1,000 in the mail the next week. I immediately went out, told my dad, look, I want to buy a new camera. He took me to Best Buy and I got my new camera. It was a DSLR. I'll never forget this. The Canon Rebel T3i. It's a game-changing camera, to me at least. This was the dawn of SLRs. You couldn't afford the 5D Mark II when that came out, but the T3i, what's not to love about it? Well, there's some things not to love about it, like the fact that it doesn't shoot in 60 frames per second, no slow-mo, but you get the articulating flip-out LCD screen. You can see yourself in front of the camera, and that was huge. So what did I do? I went out and I shot. And with this camera, I was documenting a clothing line that I started at this point called Flawless Victory, which ended up flopping. That's another story time. So if you want to hear that story, comment down below and I'll tell you how I failed with my clothing line. But through that, transition that into a production company. You know what? Now that I'm thinking back on it, there was one camera that I left out of this equation. It was the flip video. It was basically the equivalent to this phone right here. But if you didn't know, the flip video was like a little bit smaller than the iPhone. And you could press record. It had a USB dongle that popped out. You could plug it directly into the computer and edit. It was an all-in-one camera. And then, of course, it died because of the iPhone. Back to the story now. I started this vlog series called Flawless Life, where my friends and we all documented each other. But then life got in the way. I graduated high school. I went to college for filmmaking. And if there's something that I want to say about going to school for filmmaking is this. School was never for me. And by no means necessary, do not take this as professional advice or say, hey, Dontae said you shouldn't go to school, so I shouldn't go either. It's a case-by-case scenario for everybody. Here's what I would say. If you have a dream of becoming a filmmaker, in 2011, 2012, YouTube was still at its peak. We didn't have other social media platforms. Instagram was only photos, where you couldn't even edit the photo. You had to apply filters. So there really was no platform for you to upload videos except for YouTube. And of course, there's creators that's been on the platform since the inception of YouTube. And I think I'm one of those creators. I just never uploaded consistently because something in life always got in my way. Or I was spreading myself too thin because I was focusing on different things of life and trying to figure out where I wanted to be and how I could fit into this equation. I go to college and it's a school for filmmaking. We're literally the first semester of filmmaking to this art school. And it was funny because this was the rise of DSLRs. The 5D Mark II was a pinnacle camera that changed the way filmmakers see cameras and the tools that they use. However, they had us working on DVCH tapes, which was obsolete at the time. They were trying to teach us how to convert tapes to digital. And they didn't realize that this entire industry was changing. Luckily for me, I had a group of friends at the school who had access to these SLRs like the 5D Mark II, the 7D by Canon. Here's an important thing that I will say. As an artist, you should never go to school for art, especially in the age where you can learn on the internet. I mean, there's so many filmmakers out there that have courses that are a huge fraction of the price of what you would pay to go to these private schools. Or you have YouTube where you can get free information. All you need to do is go out there and film. Even if it's this phone that you have, I started with a VHS camera, so it should not stop you. And today I'm filming on a really dope camera. But what I will say is this. Don't go to school for art. Nobody can teach you to become a better artist. You learn to become a better artist through experience and your failures and making sure that you learn from these failures. And here's the thing, they don't tell you this when you apply to film school. You still have to take general education, math, English, history, all that stuff. And then the other half is filmmaking. So they want you to balance both. As an artist, you shouldn't have to choose between those. I just graduated 12 years of my life of just doing general education. So why do I need this information to become a filmmaker? I should be focusing on how to become a better filmmaker and nothing else. So those are my 2 cents. Take that with a grain of salt. And if there was something that I would say that I should have did different was I should have went to school for business. So if you're listening to this and you want to be an artist, consider going to school for business while learning about your craft at the same time. This way, by the time you graduate with a degree in business, you can go anywhere. If you can create content and you understand how business works, A, you can start your own business. B, you can go help someone else's business while providing content for them. So the value proposition of what you know and your experience and your knowledge will take you to the next level and not set you back a level. And I feel like that's something that happened to me, but my journey as a filmmaker happened for a reason. You know, I remember sitting in one of my classes and my instructor was saying, hey, where's your dream job? And I always imagined myself being a filmmaker working with one of my favorite movie houses, either Universal Studios or even Warner Brothers, directing my own feature-length films. But lo and behold, you're always going to have that person talking you down, not believing in you when you have to do what's right for you, which is believing in yourself and knowing inside of you that whatever they're saying, you can prove them wrong. Because remember, nothing is impossible, but quotes don't work unless you do. That's a fact. So my teacher goes, Dontae, you know if you don't graduate from here and you get a good grade, and you have this piece of paper here. You're never going to be anything, and you're never going to be able to work in Hollywood. I called their bluff, and I ended up dropping out of film school because A, school was never for me. And again, you can't teach somebody how to be a filmmaker. What I was learning in school was stressing me out because I had the pressure of math and English to worry about. I couldn't focus on the actual projects of what I could learn. And I'm actually glad that I called their bluff because it taught me so much, and it saved me like $40,000 to $50,000 because I only technically went there for 1 year. So kudos to me, and thanks financial aid. I'm the type of person who has the survivor mentality. If my plane crashes over the ocean and I'm stuck there, I'm not going to panic. I'm going to figure out a way to survive this situation. So with that said, if I knew I dropped out of college, I knew I only had a certain amount of time to be able to make ends meet. How am I going to be able to pay my bills? Am I going to make it to Los Angeles, to Hollywood, to be able to fulfill my dreams as a filmmaker? We'll see where this journey takes me. From that day forward, I never put my camera down. I always was trying to shoot something. I invested and I upgraded my camera to a Canon 5D. And from there, if I didn't make that move, the next big chapter of my filmmaking journey would have never happened. On a whim, having this new camera, I was always constantly out and about in San Francisco taking photos, where I met this really dope photographer. His name is Whitney. And Whitney invited me out to this event called Flash Mob. If you're not familiar with this, if you're not from California, Flash Mob was an event that older photographers put together. And by older, I mean like 20s to 30s. Keep in mind, I was still probably younger than 21 at this point. So Flash Mob is an event where a bunch of photographers in the area get together. Some people drink beer if that's what you're into, but mainly you're doing a photo walk, and everything that we see at nighttime, we're networking and we're talking to different people. And this is the moment where I realized I was basically paying $80,000 to go to a school to pay for my books, limited access to tools that we couldn't use unless we moved up the ladder to the next class and we were okay, qualified to use these tools like other cameras. And I would be paying to network with the people in my school. As I was looking around me, most of these people didn't go to school, but they all were in the creative field where I wanted to be with. So anybody that I picked to talk to could lead me on my journey. Me, I'm a very social person. I decided to talk to some people. Hey, I said what's up to my homie Whitney. He was telling me that he's been working on this project with Levi's. And out of everybody there, everyone that he already knew, he knew for some reason he wanted to work with us. And the thing that really helped me out was I invested into a Steadicam. The 5D that I had at the time could record video and photos. So this was huge. I mean, Hollywood was using 5D Mark IIs to be able to film videos. This is when DSLRs changed. Everything from the moment of me dropping out of high school, I feel like all had to do with perfect timing. If you think about it, Vine came out. You were able to upload videos. Thus, Vine creators and influencers were born. And now because influencers were a thing, Instagram switched to video. YouTube was promoting influencers more than ever, and people needed more opportunity. With supply and demand, you have more people out in the field having their ability to record on these more affordable cameras, sharing their stories, and you could learn from their stories, from their experience, the things that they wanted to teach you about, how to edit in software, different effects you can try out. This is where I learned a lot of my filmmaking from, was honestly the internet and just asking people, being on set, talking to them. Another crazy thing happened that night while we were at Flash Mob. We were walking back to our car, and another photographer across the street was kind of drunk, and he yelled at us. He was like, "Hey, that's a dope picture." I stopped at this ATM machine to take a photo, and our car was only a couple steps ahead of us. If I didn't stop at this ATM machine, this moment would have never happened. His name was Julian. He came across the street, and we all took a group photo together. We were all vibing off of each other's energy. So Julian saw that we had a Steadicam with us, and I didn't know who Julian was at the time, but he was a filmmaker, and I was familiar with the group or production team that he was representing called Taika. There's a filmmaker, his name's David Camarena. At the time, he was directing music videos for the Bay Area's next generation of hip-hop music. This group was called HBK Gang. I Am Sue, Sage the Gemini, Cool John, Pilo, Skipper, and at the time, Kaylani wasn't a part of the group. There's a lot of other members a part of HBK Gang, and this moment changed my life as a filmmaker forever. I'm forever grateful for this moment, and God, if you're listening, thank you for aligning that, because I don't know if you guys believe in the universe and things happening for a reason. This happened for a reason. A couple months passed by. I'm just in my head, I'm just like, I'm just going to keep shooting, doing my thing. Julian reaches out to me and he goes, hey, we need a steady cam operator for a wedding we're shooting in San Diego. That's like an 8-9 hour drive. He's like, I can only take one person with us. Okay, when's the shoot? We're leaving tonight. I look at my other friend. I'm like, yo, bro, I can't leave. You think you can handle this? He's like, sure. He goes out. He's one of the best Steadicam operators that I know. He goes out there, does a phenomenal job. And they're like, dude, can we use you guys for music videos because we need Steadicam operators? We didn't have DJI, Ronins, and things like that. When the movie came out, which is the 3-ax stabilized gimbal, was like $25,000. Nobody could afford that at the time as a beginner independent filmmaker. So that was my introduction into the music video game. It was really interesting and really dope to be able to see the process of David be able to direct everybody on set, move from location to location, and see his vision come to life, because this was a whole new realm to me. I'm coming from the background of being a documentary filmmaker, so I love shooting things that are behind the scenes and telling a story that way. I never thought about becoming a music video director, but this opened up a lane and a whole new world for us. Remember that clothing brand I told you about, Flawless Victory? It failed, but we transitioned that into Flawless Victory Productions. And from there, we shot music videos for people like E40. We got to meet G-Eazy. We didn't get to shoot, but this is literally before he blew up and went on his tour. And then we also got to shoot for Kehlani again through David Camarena, which was a really dope experience. We also got to shoot music videos for Cool John, HBK Skipper, I Am Sue, and we had some really crazy concepts. And I can tell you this honestly, that music videos is not my forte. I had to learn that the hard way. With all due respect, none of the people that I just mentioned this happened with, but we got lowballed a lot by a lot of other music artists who were on the rise and come up. And I'm telling you, we were working with $250 to $500 budgets to produce music videos. Not just to get paid for our services, but to produce, to edit, direct, do casting call, to come up and show up and do all the shooting and editing and all of that. And then meeting with the client to go over the concept. How much time went into one music video did not make sense for that. So I will say, as a filmmaker, that was definitely not the smartest move. But in spite of that, my homie Whitney hit me up with a gig to work with Levi's. Are you kidding me? Levi's is one of my favorite companies in the entire world. They're from San Francisco. They got the best denim. And to be able to shoot something like this was insane. We did a shoot for 23 hours. Not going to lie, we were at the new Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara for 23 hours. We got paid a really good amount. And that was the first time where I was like, wow, our time and who we are is extremely valuable, and this should not be given out to just everybody and anyone. And after I started working with tech companies, I was introduced to influencers, and we were producing videos for one of our friends. His name's Ronnie Banks. We were shooting a bunch of his YouTube videos. Through that, we were able to work with Coca-Cola. Now, it wasn't a commercial that was aired on major television networks, but it was something for the internet. And at the time, there was nothing like this that was happening. Like, the influencer market was a gray space of filmmaking. And I was able to leverage what I had already learned and experienced in those past couple of years of how to run social media pages, how to be a photographer, how to be a filmmaker. So the value proposition that I was adding was fulfilling what their demands were. Unfortunately, life started to catch up and I had to figure out how to pay bills. So I went back to working a retail job, and I just couldn't stand the idea of working retail. There's just this entrepreneur bug that's just wired within me that I can't work for somebody else, and I have to live my dreams. Like, knowing that I have to go work for somebody else sitting behind a desk, standing up, serving other people is great. I learned a lot from customer service. I learned a lot from my retail endeavors. However, it wasn't what I wanted to do, and it wasn't worth my time going out there. If I can say anything to any artist that's out there right now, if you are working a retail job, if you are working a job that you don't want to do and it's not fulfilling you happiness, you could be gone tomorrow. So what I would implore you to do is come up with a game plan. If you fail, so what? Get up and figure out what you failed at and go at it even harder the next day. Because if you don't, you're leaving your dream, you're leaving your fantasy, and you're leaving your future on the line. You could have been this close to being a millionaire. You could have been this close to creating the world's best movie. Who knows? But you got to go out there and you got to make it happen. If you know what inside of you that you truly want to do something and you want to inspire people and do more, then you have to do it. So in 2015, I put in my 2 weeks and I actually didn't show up for work again after that because for months before I was leading up to this, I was thinking about every last detail of a company I wanted to start. This company was called Loaded Up Entertainment. Working in the music video industry around a lot of people who are medicating with the plant in the cannabis space. So I saw it as an opportunity to create high quality, consistent entertainment utilizing social media platforms. And in doing so, we were able to reach 1 billion people organically. I had a very small team and we were doing every single last job. The first episodes, guess who I was with? My cousin. Everything comes around full circle so long as you're doing what you love. And the one thing you want to do as a filmmaker is you want to be the best that you possibly can. You want to inspire as many people as you can, because if your work reaches 100 people or 1 billion people, just knowing that somebody saw your work means everything to you as a filmmaker. For the past 4 years, we reached 1 billion people all organically. We grew a YouTube channel of over 350,000 subscribers. We were uploading daily content. I was filming, editing everything. So if you could imagine, I've edited 1,000 videos in 2 years. Long form, short form. I learned so much just by experience. And you know, as that quote goes, it takes 10,000 hours, which is approximately like a year and a half, to become a master at what you want to do. I think it takes longer than that. But if you apply yourself in today's market, then you can get there a lot sooner, because the tools that you have readily available right now for you, we did not have in 2011 when I started my journey as a filmmaker in the real world as an adult. That's my story. My journey is still continuing. I still have a passion to become a filmmaker and direct a feature-length film, which we're actually working on a script now. And this journey is going to continue to go on, and I'm going to utilize this channel to share my journey as a filmmaker and as an entrepreneur. So if you guys enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Smash that like button, drop a comment down below, and let me know if you enjoyed storytime videos, because I will definitely put out more of those and make this a more regular thing on the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and when you subscribe, hit that bell icon so you get notified every single time I upload a video and you don't miss out, because trust me, you don't want to miss out. I'm dropping gems, and I got a lot of them. My name is Dontae. Thank you so much for your time. I'm out.
I let my tape rock till my tape pop. Smoking weed and bamboo, sipping on private stock. Way back when I had the red and black lumberjack with the hat to match. Remember rapping Duke? The hard. You never thought that hip hop would take it this far. Now I'm in the limelight cause I rhyme tight. Time to get paid, blow up like